You ever come across a video online that just completely stops you in your tracks and makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about something? Well, today we're going to break down one of those. It's a viral video from a channel called A Righteous Perspective, and it makes a really controversial and super emotional case for intervention in Iran. We're going to look at exactly how they build their argument. Let's dive in. And right out of the gate, the video hits you with this. It's a total gut punch. See, this isn't just a random quote. It's a very deliberate opening. By starting with an Iranian woman who is literally begging for an attack, the video immediately changes the whole conversation. It's not about politics anymore. It's framed as a moral duty to answer a desperate cry for help. Okay, so how does the video actually build this case? Well, it follows a pretty clear roadmap. First, it pulls at your heartstrings with what it calls an Iranian plea. Then it flips the script with a sharp critique of American students and follows that up with some serious accusations against Democrats. All of that is the setup for justifying Trump's actions, and then it wraps up by painting this picture of a new Gulf reality. So the entire argument, the very foundation of it, is built on these incredibly raw human stories. And that's a strategic choice, for sure. The video uses these personal accounts to make its political points feel grounded in real human suffering. The goal is to build what feels like an undeniable moral case for taking action. Wow, just listen to that number. They killed 40,000 of us in 2 days. Now, whether that number is perfectly accurate or not isn't really the video's main concern. Its purpose is to be shocking. It presents this really stark choice. If protesting peacefully gets you killed on a massive scale, the video is basically asking what other option is there besides help from the outside. That desperation is the whole point. And to really hammer that feeling of desperation home, the video just lists off all these grievances. The story it tells is one of just profound injustice, a country that should be rich, but its people are broke. A place where you can't count on having water or electricity. And then these huge claims, like the regime shooting down its own passenger planes while funding terror abroad. Every single one of these points is designed to convince you that the government there has lost all legitimacy. And right here is where the video takes a hard turn. After setting up this life-or-death struggle happening inside Iran, it flips the camera around to focus on American college students. The whole point is to create this jarring contrast. On one side, you have people literally fighting for their lives, and on the other, you have students who, according to the video, have been totally brainwashed. So this is the host of A Righteous Perspective, just laying it all out there. He's making a really bold claim that American colleges aren't teaching students how to think, they're teaching them what to think. And the result, he argues, is a whole generation that's been taught to be anti-American and is just completely out of touch with what's really going on in the world. So how does the video try to prove this idea of indoctrination? Well, it uses a classic move, the street interview. They hit a student with this really simple but incredibly loaded question. It forces them to pick a side between two polar opposites. And you can just see the rhetorical trap being set, right? The choice is presented like it's a simple black and white moral test. But the video isn't really just asking about women's rights. It's designed to test a theory that for these students, their automatic knee-jerk reaction against Trump will be stronger than anything else. And there it is. That's the gotcha moment the whole segment was built for. For the host, this student's answer is Exhibit A. It's held up as absolute proof of his indoctrination theory, that the opposition to a U.S. president is so intense, it would lead someone to kind of sort of side with an authoritarian regime they admit they know nothing about. But the video doesn't stop with just one student. Nope, it puts together this whole montage of similar opinions to create this powerful cumulative effect. The message they're sending is pretty clear. This isn't just one person's weird opinion, it's a widespread pattern of what they see as anti-American thinking and a total lack of awareness about the real struggles happening in places like Iran. Okay, so after taking aim at students, the video escalates its attack and goes after a much bigger target, Democratic politicians. And the accusation here is way, way more serious. They're not just portrayed as being naive anymore. Now they're being painted as weak, complicit, and in the video's own words, even treasonous. The video uses a classic confrontation tactic here. You see a politician get put on the spot with this loaded question about pallets of cash. And when he kind of deflects and doesn't give a straight answer, the video frames that non-answer as basically a confession. It's used to build the case that the whole Iran nuclear deal was some kind of shady, secret, backroom deal. This number is the absolute centerpiece of the accusation, $1.7 billion. But it's not just about the amount.
It's about how it was sent. The video keeps repeating the phrase, pallets of cash and gold. It's an image that's designed to sound secretive and frankly criminal, almost like a direct payoff.
And this is the final judgment. This is the conclusion the video's case against the Democrats has been building toward. I mean, it's an incredibly harsh statement, calling them not just political rivals, but treasonous traitors and useful idiots for an enemy state.
So after portraying students as naive and Democrats as traitors, the video finally reaches its climax, the justification for the Trump administration's use of force. The argument is actually pretty simple. These actions weren't reckless. They were a necessary and logical response to a dangerous and irrational enemy.
This quote right here is the philosophical core of the whole argument. It just dismisses the idea of diplomacy as a waste of time. It frames decisive military force not as just one option among many, but as the only language the Iranian regime can actually understand.
To back this up, the video plays a clip from Donald Trump himself to lay out the whole strategy. And notice how this timeline is structured. It presents a problem that's been going on for almost 50 years, and then it positions his actions, like tearing up that nuclear deal, as the decisive moves that finally started to fix it.
And the video's final claim is probably its most ambitious. It argues that these policies didn't just deal with a threat, they permanently rewired the political reality of the entire Middle East. This is what the video calls the new normal. It's a vision of the region where there's just no middle ground left. You have to pick a side. Gulf states are now lining with the US and Israel. And here's the key. The video presents this high-tension environment not as a bad thing, but as a strategic win that leaves no room for Iran to play its old games. So after breaking down this whole argument, we're left with a much bigger question. The A Righteous Perspective video uses powerful emotional testimony, pointed interviews, and really stark moral lines to build an incredibly persuasive story. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of our understanding of these super complex global conflicts is shaped not just by the facts, but by the power of the story being told?